session. So first we will be looking at Azure Active Directory. Okay, so Azure Active Directory is something similar to Active Directory Domain Services, ADDS, that we know or we are comfortable in on-premises environments. So let me just quickly take you through the differences between these two. Okay, some of you are very comfortable with that as well. So in on-premises infrastructure, so let's say this is on-premises. Here we have ADDS, Active Directory Domain Services, which provides identity. So what is identity? So the meaning, we are creating users, we are creating groups to communicate, authenticate mainly. Okay, and then when it comes to Azure, we have a cloud-based identity system known as Azure AD. That is known as Azure AD, right? So Active Directory Domain Services in on-premises, identity system where you can create users, we can create groups, we can assign permissions to the resources. We do all of those with Active Directory Domain Services in ADDS, in on-premises. In Azure, we have Active Directory Domain Services. If you compare these two, it will give you better understanding about these two. Okay, so what are the similarities and differences between these two, right? So then, number one, Active Directory Domain Services, you need to deploy on a domain controller. So the meaning, you need to install a server version, and then you need to install Active Directory Domain Services role, and you need to deploy it as a domain controller in order to configure this as a Active Directory. Okay, and then you can create users, and then you can create groups in Active Directory Domain Services. And also there is another one, the Active Directory Domain Services is application-based directory, to be specific, X500, X500 base application directory. But when it comes to Azure, this is web-based directory, and then Active Directory Domain Services is hierarchical directory. So it has a hierarchy. But Azure Active Directory is a flat directory. So whenever you create users, there won't be any hierarchical model, but it will be a flat directory. So whatever the users, whenever you users created users, users will have same level of in hierarchy. So in Active Directory Domain Services, we have organization unit or use to provide more specific permissions. For example, apply group policies, but Azure Active Directory, there is no organization unit. But we have something called administrative units, AUs, but these two are quite different, right? And also Active Directory Domain Services support group policies, GPOs, group policy objects, but Azure Active Directory does not support GPOs, group policy objects. Okay, and also this directory is support ticket-based authentication like Kerberos authentication, but Azure Active Directory provides claim-based authentication only. So if you compare these two, these are the differences between Active Directory Domain Services and Azure Active Directory.